First, we'd like to thank everyone who took part in our annual Customer Appreciation Week. We'd like to especially thank the hundreds of brand new customers who use WagerTalk.com for the very first time. Our regulars already know we offer $9 Mondays and have a featured handicapper for $2 Tuesdays. We're going one step further. For the final 2 Thursdays in February, every single daily package will be half priced on Thursday, February 18th and Thursday, February 25th using coupon code THANKS50. There is no limit to the number of usages or the number of cappers you can purchase, and the same code THANKS50 will work for both Thursdays. Just another way for us to thank you for your patronage.
Hey guys, welcome back here to Wager Talk TV for another episode of Puck Time. I'm Andrew McInnis, joined by Carmine, Bianco, and Bryan, Leonard. We have another set of great games here. I believe that these new divisions are causing us to have some really competitive games, and we're in that kind of week right now where a lot of the worst teams are playing each other and a lot of the better teams are playing each other. So it's going to be some great games tonight. I'll bring our guests in. Bryan, Leonard, how are you, Bryan? So excited to see us.
It's good to be back on the show. Things are looking good. Number one in college basketball at the site of most profit. And that's still last 18 days. And number one in hockey the last 30 in profit. So everything's going great. I do want to point out a few things since I'm only on the show once every week or so. First of all, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you did, discussing the Canadiens firing of the coach. Take a look at 5-on-5 goals plus minus per 60. Canadiens are 1.29. So basically, if they play the entire game without any penalties, they win every game by 1.3 goals. The second place is the Lightning at about 1. So they've done tremendously well, and they fire the coach. I'm sure you guys have gone over. Secondly, I had a chance to watch the video yesterday. You guys did a job. I always enjoy you and you and Carmine's discussions on the game. But I was actually impressed by Perez yesterday. He stuck to the games for the most part. He did a really good job of handicapping the games. And other than when he went off crazy on Toronto being the best team in the NHL, other than that crazy thought, he did a really good job. So great for Perez yesterday. The third thing I want to talk about, and this is mostly to you, Andrew. I've always talked about Andrew, and I said the guy, I envy him because he's young, he's talented, and he's good looking. Well, after watching yesterday's show, when you shaved your head, I'll use the Meatloaf line, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
So that just goes to show the hair was doing something for me, Bryan. Thank you. But got to be a man of my word, right? And I expose myself for one of the shows. It's going to be break out the hat collection now for the rest of the maybe the next week or two. That's for sure. But we're really happy to have you back, Bryan. I know you've been very successful right now in college hoops and NHL as well. So always happy to have you on the show. And I don't want to get into it too much because we'll talk about it with the Habs. But I mean, the expected goals, Bryan, I think the Habs are a perfect example with them that's never really been a stat that you can use with them just because it's always been the case. Like if you look back, Bryan, like last year, the year before that, the year prior to that, they were like up there with expected goals with the Corsi numbers, all the advanced fancy stats. They were up there, but they didn't have the goal scorers to do it. So if you had Tampa Bay in that category, then it's like, I'm impressed. But even as a loyal Montreal fan, that stat doesn't really mean too much because I've seen it. I've seen them there for like 3-4 straight years, and they're like 20th in the league. So I just feel like it was time for a change. And I think Ducharme is kind of a new school coach that will bring a whole new element. Carm, big day for you yesterday, man. You're getting hot in the NHL. Soccer was great. 5% didn't go your way, but hey, man, you still kicked ass otherwise.
Yeah, a red card early in that Champions League game sent that one going the wrong way. They were all over them for the first 17 minutes, and I knew that the minute we got a goal, it was going to be a lopsided game. Unfortunately, in the 17-minute red card sent that one going the other way. But overall, a winning day in soccer, a winning day in NHL, and the totals are going exactly how I hoped since I sort of revamped things. And, even on the show, we look at some of the totals that I gave out on the show. The Flyers over got there, the under in the Leafs game got there, the Dallas under, and the mini over. So yesterday's show, I think the show pick at the end was a losing pick, but we'll get right back at that. NHL is going good, and you and I in our Twitter contest both went with wins. You had the Colorado Minnesota over, and I had the under in the St. Louis and the Kings game, and that easily went under. So we're 1-0 with 49 plays each to go.
It's going to be fun, Carm. We'll keep things going. And I also I have a tough beat with my best bet, my power play on yesterday's show that I'll get into at the end of this show. But guys, we got some hockey to talk to. We got to talk about. We have to get into some games now. The Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets, Hurricanes, Lightning. That's a great game right there. Oilers, Canucks, and these two bad teams here, Nashville and Detroit, and Calgary and Ottawa. Ottawa looking to continue to play spoiler. And we're going to kick this show off with our face-off matchup here with the Blackhawks and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And look, there's been times during this season to try and find some underdog spots. I know Bryan, he isn't scared to find some underdog spots. And this Blackhawks team has been a team to cash in some decent plus money tickets. The problem is now they are not plus 120, 130 now against some teams. They are actually getting more respect by the betting markets. We're seeing now the Blue Jackets minus 120. That game got out of hand the last time these two teams played, Carm. And, the thing is, we saw some of the great players on the Columbus Blue Jackets play. And now the problem is, I never really thought I would say this, but the goaltending has been relatively weak. And now the Blackhawks have kind of found their man.
Yeah, I talked on Tuesday's show, if you remember, that I expect at some point, and some point soon, that there's going to be some regression in this Hawks team. They've been just playing so well. And a lot of that has been backed by Kevin Lankinen in net. He had a great start to the season. Columbus scored 5 goals on him on Tuesday night. The only problem is the Hawks got 6. Obviously, that game went to a shootout, and Lankinen stopped all 3 shots. They've scored 13 goals in the last 3 games against this Chicago team and Lankinen. So he may be dropping off a bit. This is one of those games where, while I may not like a side in the game, I actually do like the total. I think 5.5 is a good total to take the over here in this game. I think it's not an overreaction to the 6-5 game, not at all. It's just a reaction to looking at Lankinen in his last few games, and maybe there is some regression coming to the Chicago team, and with that, some goals. So I'm looking at 5.5 here and over the total.
Bryan, I'm concerned about the timeliness of when this Blue Jackets team has given up goals. It hasn't always been early in games. It's been like late in the second period, a lot of third period goals. Does that worry you if you're back in this team?
Yeah, I just want to touch on something in regards to the Montreal Canadiens. That wasn't an advanced stat. That was goals plus minus per 60. So that was actually what has happened on the season. But I understand your point about certain teams play a little bit better than their numbers and certain teams don't. I had the Blue Jackets in that game the other day, fought all the way back. I thought I was going to have a winner. Ended up losing that game, as you mentioned. I believe it was 6-5. My last 6 games that have been decided by 1 goal, I've lost 5 of them. So there's been a lot of coin flips that I've lost, and I've still been able to do very well. I had Columbus in that game. I thought it was a situation where there was a value on them. And you talked about it. I remember you talked about it on the show, and you talked about how Chicago was playing now. They've been playing very well. I think this is a situation that, they continue to play well. And this is a team that's really surprised on the season. If you're looking at the stats on the year, Chicago may be a little bit better team. You look at the personnel, the Jackets may be a little bit better. You're looking at a revenge situation for the Jackets here. I think that's a little bit of an advantage there. Jeff Vogel's a guy I follow on Twitter, and he keeps track of home and away, and I use it for basketball, use it for hockey. And so far this season, you know how we all got off to such a great start. The home teams were just dominating early on, and I was losing because I play a lot of underdogs, and obviously most underdogs are on the road. It's down to 0.2 goals per game. So the road teams have been really playing well lately. So now we're seeing what we expected. There's really not much of a home ice advantage. I'm a little bit torn on this game. I like the Jackets from the event standpoint. I think it's a better game here. But Chicago is one of those teams playing very well right now. And to pass them up on an underdog price is really something I don't want to do. So this is a game I'm passing on. I think the line is right, but it should be a nice, exciting game. And if it's anything like the last game, I think Carmine's got himself a winner on that total.
Should be a great game, that's for sure. I'm actually going to pass this game myself. I lean towards Columbus, but right now Chicago's playing two quality of hockey, so I'm not going to try and force any play on this game, and I can't argue with Carmine liking the over. And apologies there, Brian, with that. I understand what you're saying now with the 5-on-5, and I completely agree, so apologies about that, because Montreal has been great 5-on-5. They got to stay out of the box, though. Let's get into Carolina and Tampa Bay. And Brian, I'm going to start with you on this one. I feel like Carm and I have been talking ad nauseum about both these teams and the matchup between these two teams, and they've been playing each other a couple times now recently. What do you think about, first of all, the price tag on this? Because, you know, Carmine always says you want to get on a team at the beginning of the streak, right? And I always say, you know, you want to find out when that streak's going to come and try and, you know, figure out these moments. And I said that the Lightning were playing bad teams to start the year. They started to play better teams now, and they had to kind of get a wake-up call. They got their wake-up call, and now they look more like themselves. But do they deserve this minus 140 price, Brian?
Yeah, you take a look at the actual numbers. Yes, probably. You take a look at the advanced stats. I don't think they do. Carolina's been one of those teams. If you take a look at expected goals and against per 60 minutes on 5-on-5, Carolina's plus 0.4, and Tampa Bay is only plus 3.3. So Hurricanes have played just as well as the Lightning. In fact, if you go over the advanced stats with the power play and the penalty kill, Carolina's right there with them. I prefer the over a little bit, and I'm not a big totals guy. But if you take a look at these teams, just for that goals plus minus per 60 and 5-on-5, this is the number 2 and number 4 teams. And if you take a look at the power play, they're very good on that. So this is the situation for me. Two extremely good teams that are really close, but I think the game tends to go over more often than not here. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair.
I'm right there with Brian. I like the over in this game. I'm staying off the side. I felt like I've had a good read on the past few games between these two teams and with the Lightning. But with this one, I'm staying off the side and focusing on the total here. And our marquee matchup, Carm, any play for you?
Yeah, I beat the price on this one early yesterday. I did like Tampa Bay, so I took them at 130 and put it out there early for my clients. I think it was about 145 by game time. It might have been a little bit higher. Tampa got obviously the job done. 140 probably seems about right if you're just going off the fact that Tampa's at home and Tampa's the supposedly the better team and they've beaten them twice. I'd rather lay 130 than I would 140. So, that juice, Andrew, we've talked about it. Getting the best line is going to save you long term. I would lean to the over here along with you guys. If you watch that game, there were numerous opportunities to get goals in that game. I think Tampa at one point in a 60 to 90 second span had 2 breakaways that were both stopped. Any of the one of those ones go in, sometimes it just starts a thing of the goals coming. We're going to see McElhinney. He's confirmed tonight. Reimer is expected to be in net tonight. This is one of those games where I'm not going to take the side on this. I just don't like the price, so I'm going to lean with you guys on the over and the 6 here.
Let's get into our line change game now. We have the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks. And guys, I really think that the last game was the game for the Canucks to win. They kind of hurt themselves. They gave up that lead. They were right involved in the game. The Oilers, they make their way back. They win a tight one. They win it 4-3. They have now won 8 of their last 10 games. and they're looking better defensively. Besides the start of that game, they're figuring out how to protect leads. They're figuring out how to win hockey games, and they are not playing, first team to 5 wins. For the most part, we have seen them win games where they score 3 goals, 2 goals. And then, of course, their offense has come to life. We've seen a game where they scored 7 or 6 goals. So this Oilers team is coming to life. And again, we've been saying a lot on this show, don't overthink these. This new format is causing people to overthink certain prices. The Oilers are minus 135. First impression to me is, what reason would I have right now the Vancouver Canucks have given me to go against the Oilers right now? What would they tell me right now if I watched their highlight tapes and looked at the stats? Why should I take the Vancouver Canucks tonight at that price? And the answer I can say is I can't give you one because the Oilers are playing great hockey right now, and the Canucks, they're a quality team. They've got quality young players. They're getting the shot count. They're getting goals from dangerous scoring opportunities. But the fact is, they've been too in and out. They've been too inconsistent. They're taking bad penalties. To me, this is Oilers or pass. We could make an argument that the Vancouver Canucks showed signs of life, but I'm not jumping on a team that can't prove to me right now they can be successful. What about you, Carm?
Yeah, I'm going to make probably this short and sweet and give Bryan a lot of time to talk about this one. In that last game, it was the last game of the night. I literally took the over 1.5 in the first period. It was 3-0 Vancouver. I cashed the ticket. I turned off the TV and I went to sleep to set up for the next day. I wake up and I see Edmonton won the game 4-3. I couldn't believe it. Edmonton's won 10 of their last 12 games. This team is now second behind only the Leafs, 6 points back. And while Prez is not watching the show, because he never watches the show anyways, unless he's on it, Edmonton, I believe, is probably the best team in this division. They are doing what they're supposed to be doing now. They've worked it out, their problems defensively. While they still may allow 2 or 3 goals here and there, they're playing much better as a unit. Connor McDavid, much better. He's coming back. And maybe, Andrew, you can find the stats for the next show. His stats on body checks and hits and his defensive play, I think, have improved immensely. So for me here, it's going to be Edmonton, just because I can't make a case for taking Vancouver. And all 3 games in this, while I'm not touching the total, all 3 games between these 2 teams have gone over that 6.5 total.
Bryan, you've been handicapping for many years, and this format is something that we haven't really seen besides the playoffs, seeing these teams play each other countless times in a row. Even in the NBA, they're playing maybe 1 or 2 games against each other, and that's it. But with this schedule, has it been weird at all for you? Because it has been for me, thinking from one game to the next.
Actually, it fits what I do perfectly, because I always take a look at how these teams did previously, and I want to look if the result of the previous meeting was the way the game was actually played. So this is something that works out very well for me, and I think it's paid off for my clients in that regard. I'll have to look at the numbers. Open 130, which was a fair number, and I think there was value on the Oilers in that regard. Now we're getting to 135. You can see Chris. It's early in the day, of course, but Chris is at 140. So they're taking money in on the favorite here. And normally when a team, if the teams are fairly close or somewhat close in strength, and one team takes a 3-0 lead and loses that game, that's the team I want to bet on. Vancouver was in that situation. But as you both pointed out, the Oilers are just playing so much better right now than Vancouver is. The only problem for myself is the line is going a little bit past what I'd want to bet. If it gets down back to 130 again, I think I'll take a shot on the Oilers with Edmonton there. But at this number right now, there's just too much of a disparity on the way these teams have played right now. If you take a look at 5-on-5 goals plus minus on the season, Edmonton's number 12 and Vancouver's number 28. That's not close enough for me to put my faith in the underdog here. So I like the favorite, but I'm a little priced out right now. But hopefully I can get back in that range later on today.
Yeah, and Andrew,
right,
before we go, sorry, I was just going to jump in real quick. And before we go, Edmonton has the second best road record right now at I think 7-3, and they 5 straight games. But Brian's point is right in the sense of at some point you're going to get priced out of a bet, and we're not talking about get priced out at minus 200. Sometimes in a game like this where you find value in Edmonton at minus 125, minus 130, the minute hits 140, 145, you just can't take it, even if you believe they're going to win. The idea of this is a bankroll management and finding the right numbers to get through an NHL season making profits.
And I want to reiterate that, guys, it's not the main guys that are scoring anymore for the Edmonton Oilers. We're getting Tyler Ennis scoring. Gahan is scoring. Guys that you might not always been hearing are starting to score. Also, big shout out to Darnell Nurse. He's playing probably his best hockey of his career. Great defenseman right now for the Oilers. Let's get into our dump or chase segment here with the Nashville Predators and the Detroit Red Wings. I don't know why, but it seems like the topic for me and the question I've been asking the all show, Brian, is about the prices. I feel like I'm on the prices right now. Predators minus 160. This team has been a letdown. They've struggled to score. They've been really up and down all season. Is this just strictly because of, fade the Red Wings? Everybody wants to fade the Red Wings have showed signs of bright spots. And I think everybody will agree with that. They've caught teams in flat spots. The problem is, I don't like this price, but I think that when you're a Nashville Predators team, you come into this game with confidence, and you're lacking confidence. I remember when I used to play sports, anybody I know that used to play sports, you're feeling better as a struggling team when you're going in to play another team that's kind of in the same category as you. So I don't love this minus 160 price. Maybe I'll look for the -1 pathway, but I think a lot of people will say, yeah, it's a great underdog spot for Detroit because both teams are not very good. But the Nashville Predators haven't been good because they aren't meeting your expectations. But against the Red Wings, they are a better team, and they will show up tonight, I believe. I'm just not comfortable with this Predators team at that price. So a -1, a Nashville in regulation is kind of where I'd be looking because I feel like the Red Wings are still too up and down. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, the line opened 145. Now we're seeing in the 155, 157 range. So money has come in on Nashville here. Originally, I didn't have much opinion on this game. I thought the line was probably pretty close to what I would make it at the 145. If you take a look at at actual goals plus and minus and 5-on-5, these two teams are tied for 25th, minus basically a half a goal per game. So on 5-on-5, they're exactly the same. Nashville's power play is better than Detroit's, but as I talked about in the past, Nashville's penalty killing is horrendous. Neither team is very good in that regard. I can't lay that type of number on the road with Nashville. I'm getting close. If the line continues to go up, I'll take my shot on Detroit. And I don't like Detroit at all. They may be the worst team in the league. But Nashville, until they prove it, and we see this every year, one of the things I like about baseball as opposed to football and basketball is every year a different team has a chance to win. Tampa Bay Rays last year, a team that had not done anything, all of a sudden they go to the World Series, and then unfortunately they didn't have the talent that the Dodgers had, so they didn't win that. But you find certain teams every year, in a sport like hockey, where puck luck is so important, you'll find teams that go on runs and teams that are better than what their numbers suggest. So I'm just about to take Detroit here, a very strong lead at this point, just because the Predators do not deserve to be a favorite of this size, regardless of who they play.
I agree with that. I can't argue that. And that's what I love about hockey too, Brian. And I grew up a basketball player. I actually didn't really play too much hockey, but with basketball, I never liked the fact that the past 4 or 5 years, you knew who was going to be in the finals. You knew who the best teams were going to be. That league's getting more competitive, but that's why we love hockey. It's the competitive nature of the league. It's awesome that way. Our barn burner game here today, guys, the Ottawa Senators and the Calgary Flames. We're taking a look at this game from a total standpoint and potentially aside if any of us have a lean for it. But the Senators, guys, they've been continuously playing spoiler against the Habs. I hated to see that. playing spoiler against the Leafs. I love to see that. I hate to see them when they finally lose a game against them. But this Senators team, the problem with them now, from a total standpoint, is that they're actually playing better defensive hockey. They're actually, containing these offensive weapons on the opposition, and the zone entry has been a lot more difficult for the opposition from them. Now, Calgary, I believe they're kind of in the same boat. I don't think they want to play high-scoring games. They're comfortable in those type of games. So I'm actually going to look at the under 6 in this game between these two teams. The Senators are figuring out what's working for them and what's actually going to make them successful. If they fall into goal after goal after goal type games, they probably will be on the wrong end of it. I think they're clamping down defensively, and the under 6 is the way to go, Carm.
Yes, sir. Once a week, Andrew completely forgets to go to me on a game, and that happened in the Nashville-Detroit game. So I will quickly comment on that game, because I am going under the total of 5.5 in that. Detroit, 8 of their last 10 games have gone under the total, 11 of their last 15. And if you look at teams with better offenses than this Nashville team, which is the Panthers and Tampa, they've played them 8 times and gone under the total 6 of those 8 games this season. With that said, we'll move on to this game. Andrew, this is a game where I'm going to avoid.
Are the rules going to change with the challenge? Are you going to only take me halfway to Toronto?
No. If Andrew forgets to go to me next week, he has to shave off 2 of his eyebrows or whatever. So we're going to go with that. Anyways, listen, as far as this game goes, it's a weird one, because the Calgary is now, this is their first meeting. So Calgary is now going to play Ottawa. 5 of their next 6 games are against this Senators team. 4 straight. And then there's a game against Edmonton sandwiched in between. That could be one of those Marco sandwich games. And then they finish off again with Ottawa in that 5th of 6 games. We still don't know what's going on with Markstrom. And this is why I'm going to stay away from this game, either side and total. We don't know what's going on with Markstrom. Riddick could start again. And listen, he was good against the Leafs. He shut them out and nearly shut them out again if it wasn't for that late goal by the Leafs to send that game to overtime. And then obviously Calgary lost that game 2-1. I don't know. At first I thought about Calgary 3rd game in 4 nights, maybe a little leg weary. Maybe we go with the over here and we see some goals. But I want to see what happens in the first game of this 4-game set with Ottawa before I decide how to go in this series.
I just keep skipping over Carm once a week. It's kind of a routine now, I guess. We'll try and drop that routine. I guess we're creatures of habit, but we'll try and move forward from that. But a point that you made, Carm, about yesterday's game, and it's a second half of a back-to-back, obviously. We'll find out if Bryan really takes much of that into account. But Calgary contained the Leafs, Bryan. They're playing better defensively. How do you feel about the total in this game?
Carm, Yankees fans tend to think the world revolves around them. So I can definitely understand why.
I'm actually a Jays fan. I'm actually a Jays fan. That's the worst part. I just got this in New York, my first time there. So
your Jays fans should be shooting you for wearing a Yankees hat. I'll tell you that right now. In regards to this game, I had Calgary yesterday, and they played a terrific game against Toronto. They take the lead, and with 2 minutes to go, they are sitting pretty. Big underdog winner for me. It didn't happen. And you could tell by as quickly as they gave up that next goal, and then they go to overtime, and they just weren't prepared. That concerns me in this game tonight. And you talked about Ottawa's defense playing so much better. I agree. This is a team, when you take a look at the advanced stats compared to what's going on, sure, Ottawa is one of those teams that has gotten blown out as much as anybody in the league. But when they're in a game, a tight game, they really surprise. And you touched on this is a team that's, I think, has a lot of value. From a total standpoint, I'm concerned about the Flames playing this back-to-back after the way they lost last night. I'm going to use a side play on this, but it'll be my best bet, and I'm going to hold off on that. But I don't have much regarding the total here, but once we get to the power plays, I'll comment a little bit more on this.
Well, since I make a habit of forgetting Carm, and I'm here on the show with him every single day, I might as well go to you first, Carm, for your power play and anything you have to promote for tonight.
Yeah,
and
listen,
this afternoon
I'm easy
too.
to forget. I'm easy to forget, so it's perfectly fine. I'm one of those
How could I forget
faces
that smile?
you either see my face up on a billboard at a post office with the most wanted under it, or you just completely I blend in with all the other bald guys out there. With that said, I am going as my show best bet. Let's get off this snide because I think I've lost a couple in a row. I'm not really happy about that. I'm going back to this Nashville one that you kind of maybe that's why you skipped over me because you knew I was going to discuss it now. So kudos to you. Nashville, Detroit under 5.5. As I mentioned, they're 2-6 to the under against better offensive teams in the Panthers and Tampa Bay, and 2 of the 3 games between these teams so far this year have gone under the total. And as far as Detroit goes, 8 of 10 have gone under the total. You look at the only ones that have gone over the total were like extreme blowouts. As Bryan said, Detroit's probably one of the worst teams in the league, but they keep these games kind of close. And if that number inches up, as an aside, I would probably take Detroit at a good plus price. But show best bet, under 5.5.
And Carm, lots of Europa going on today as well, right?
Yeah, sorry, I do have 3 plays up in Europa League. I had a couple of Europa League winners yesterday doing extremely well in the Europa League, 17, 5, and 4 this year with Europa League selections.
Good stuff. Make sure to check out Carm's soccer action up at WagerTalk. And it is a hockey show, Bryan, but I know you were crushing it in the college hoops market and NBA as well. But of course, doing well in NHL. What do you have up at WagerTalk for us to go grab today? And what's your power play?
Yeah, my top play in the NHL is a game we haven't discussed. And then in college basketball, I have 5 plays up in one package, which is a nice enough bargain. But now on Thursdays, I believe they got something going on over at WagerTalk now where it's a 50% discount on the Thursday plays. So, yeah, if you're out there, get our plays for today because it's a terrific deal. They did it last Thursday, a lot of success in that regard. So I hope you go out and buy all 3 of our packages for today. My power play, I was 3-1-1 going into last week, and I believe I had Ottawa, and I lost. But I'm a guy who does not put a team on a list. And I used to live with a guy when I was in my 20s, and when he would bet and he would lose it on a team, he says, that team's on my list. And I said, by the end of the year, you have nobody to bet on because you've given up on every team you've played. Yesterday, I talked about Calgary was a team I bet on. Now I'm looking to bet against them. I think the way the game played out, I think that's going to really mess with their heads in that game because Toronto is the team to beat in that division. They had them. They had them right where they wanted them. And now they got to play an Ottawa team who is playing much better than what people talk about. Sure, if you look at year-to-date goals plus minus for 60, when you're taking a look at 5-on-5, Calgary ranks 18th. The Senators rank 31st, last in the league. When we take a look at the expected than that, you get an Ottawa at home in a nice underdog role. This is their revenge. This is a situation where they lost last time I played them. I'm giving them another chance. I'm taking Ottawa here, an overpriced favorite in my regard.
Bryan, that is 100% a vet move. That's what I would call that, a vet move, saying that you can't have these no bet lists. You can't have these no play teams. You can't do that. Every game is a new game. And as much as you want to learn from each game, it's always a new battle. So I love that. That instantly, you're just a huge vet, Bryan. We love having you on the show. My best bet on the show is going to be a game we didn't touch on. It's going to be the Islanders-Bruins. And guys, I've been going with unders pretty much all week this week for my power plays. Yesterday, I had the under in the Coyotes and the Ducks game, and I was feeling great about it. I actually had a few people tweet at me and say, hey, man, thanks a lot for the winner. Well, a little bit early on that draw because third period, we saw 3 straight goals. Phil Kessel sends it to overtime, ends up going to a shootout, and overtime is where totals go to die in pretty much every sport. So tough to lose that one for you guys. We're going with the Boston Bruins and the New York Islanders under the 5.5. 7 of the last 8 between these two teams have gone under. The Bruins coming off that game against the Flyers where they scored 7 goals. That was an outdoor game. That was a reckless game, sloppy game by both teams. And I think the Islanders will really install that defensive mindset. They'll really kind of slow that pace down and play a really good trap against the Boston Bruins. I like the under 5.5, guys, between the Bruins and the Islanders here. And for me, just 4% college basketball best bet up for me. And I will have 2 best bets up in the NHL for tonight. The power plays, you can find them right there on the screen. My under with the Islanders, Bruins, Carmine, Predators, Red Wings under 5.5, and Bryan with the Senators plus 140. Great plus price underdog right there. Always a pleasure to have Bryan Leonard join us here on his usual Thursday spot. For Carmine, I love him. I always forget to ask him for one game, but a great co-host to chat with. So thank you guys so much for joining us here on Puck Time. We'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Each and every Thursday, sportsmemo.com goes back in time, and you can get daily pick packages priced for only $5. And yes, for those wondering, that includes any 5% best bets normally priced at $30. This is the real Throwback Thursday. As an added bonus, all first-time customers will be credited $25 in wager bucks after those initial $5 purchases. So each and every Thursday, make sure you go to sportsmemo.com, get your favorite capper's best bet for only $5.